Hi everyone, how y'all doing? I thought with the Easter holiday and everything going on, religious holiday, I saw everybody's Facebook posts. People are getting worked up this year, so I thought I'd check in and have a little conversation about a lot of things about the Easter holiday, the grand jury report, the redacted names, the compensation funds, what's going on legislatively, talk about Notre Dame and loss this Easter season. We'll talk about all of it. So, Easter, let's talk about the religious holiday of Easter. Very important religious holiday for Catholics, Christians alike. And I keep reflecting that, the grand jury report, the Altoona Johnstown grand jury report that I was named in, was released in March of 2016. Easter 2016 shortly followed. Then Easter 2017, Easter 2018, and now Easter 2019. 4 Easters now since the Altoona Johnstown report has come out, and 1 Easter. It's the first Easter that's come out since the Attorney General recent report with all the other dioceses. And it's Easter, and we're still fighting in Pennsylvania. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that the church during Easter season is lobbying against victims that they molested and abused, and the world knows it now. So it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of us, a lot. I posted on my Facebook page, another Easter and another year of inaction for victims. And, some people have pointed out that, the compensation funds were action. Okay, the compensation funds were action, but are the compensation funds truly for the victims? Can you honestly say that they're for the victims? Can you honestly say that out of the goodness of their heart, the church started those compensation funds, looked up their victims? I can't say that because they're only including diocesan priests. They're not doing nuns, they're not doing brothers, they're not doing Christian brothers, friars, principals, teachers. They're not covering the abuse of those people. They're paying pennies on the dollar of what some of these crimes should be valued at, and these people, victims, what they truly need. I don't think that they're doing the Christian thing in the compensation fund. I think they were set up in New York to limit their liability using an insurance term. They're limiting their liability. There was a case in 2015 and 2016 in New York and Buffalo with a victim from Hawaii who had the window and had the right to sue Diocese of Buffalo because he was raped in Buffalo. And that case was settled for $1.5 million. Cardinal Dolan started a compensation fund shortly after that. The Child Victims Act was close to being passed. He was limiting his liability. That same victim under the compensation fund in New York would have only qualified for $500,000, and his priest abuser would have never been revealed. So I can't accept that's for the victims. That's for the church. That's for the church to show its parishioners and the faithful in the world, look, we're doing something. They're in control of it, though. They're controlling the legislative arm of this. They're taking their time and holding back these laws to give them time to get these compensations through. Now, is it helping some victims? Yes, I'm not going to deny that. There are some victims that otherwise will not be compensated at all for this, for their pain. There are some victims that are getting health insurance for the first time. There are some victims that feel security in that. There are some victims that are happy that they have a victory, that they acknowledged and through the payment validated their claims. I know a lot of victims that waited when they got the check. they felt a little like Judas, like they were selling out, like they were giving the church what they wanted. So it's a mixed bag. These are triggering moments, you know. So I'd like everybody to really consider that this Easter season. This is the fourth year now, fourth Easter now, since the Altoona grand jury came out. And we still haven't addressed this legislatively because they're still fighting us. So let's talk about the legislative. A lot going on there. I know that there's a lot of confusion. I can see on Facebook there's a lot of squabbling. There's a lot of paths this year. Representative Rossi has his path to the constitutional amendment. Senator Kearney has his path along with Senator Muth. They're fighting for the window legislation. They're going through the Senate. Representative Rossi's going through the House. A few other bills passed the House that take care of a couple other of the recommendations. So there's things moving forward. Representative Rossi did not turn his back on anybody. I can tell you that. He didn't turn his back on me, and he certainly didn't turn his back on any of you. He's trying to move the ball forward through the legislative body that he has, as are Senator Kearney and Senator Muth trying to move the ball forward. So I don't know. I'm not a legal scholar, but is the constitutional path difficult? Yeah, it's difficult, as it should be. It shouldn't be easy to change the Constitution. But is it possible? Yeah, it's doable. It's been changed before. It can be changed again, especially over this issue. Can it take care of this issue once and for all? Hopefully. After a constitutional amendment, would the church be able to challenge it? I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I'm still trying to find that out. But I do know if a window is passed tomorrow or Monday, that the church can challenge based on the remedies clause, and will challenge and will tie it up in court for as long as they possibly can. A constitutional amendment could take 2 or 3 years. It's risky. There's a lot of moving parts. But I know that the church can challenge and hold it up in the court longer than 2 or 3 years. So I don't know what the path is forward. Let's keep talking and let's see what the Senate's going to do. We don't know what the Senate's going to do yet. And I want to know those questions. What is the quickest path to compensation for the victims? For the victims, not this year. Not the legislators, not the press, not the church. For the victims. Not the trial lawyers, the victims. What's best for the victims? The ones who had to live this, who breathe this every day. What's best for us? All right? I want everybody to get together and start looking at that. Ask your questions, all right? I'm going to a meeting in Harrisburg on Monday. I'm going to have a lot of questions. I look forward to meeting Leader Cutler and asking a bunch of questions about the legislative process. I want answers to legal questions. How long can the church tie these things up? What is the quickest path forward for the victims? Notre Dame. All right, let's talk about Notre Dame burning. All right, and then we'll close this up. I know that this is a longer video, but there's a lot going on, so thanks for sticking with me. You know, I felt the same way a lot of other people did when I saw Notre Dame burning. You know, I like history. I don't want to see a church burn. I don't want to see anything that's 850 years burn. I don't want to see beautiful art burn. I don't want to see that. However, I do want to use something like that in educational way, gain something good out of it. For the people Christians and Catholics that weren't abused by clergy, that watched the church burn, that I want you to reflect on what you felt when you saw that. You were saddened, hurt, confused. You had a lot of questions. Why? Who's to blame? I hope it wasn't arson. What's going on? Oh my God. The relics, the crown of thorns. You know, you had real heartache and angst. Something that was just true there that you always knew was gone now. You didn't know why. You don't understand why. You're crying. You're hurt. You're praying. You're singing. You're very confused. Well, for the first time, you got a little glimpse into what we go through. All those feelings, all that anxiety. The church molested us and covered it up. All of those emotions that you felt when you saw Notre Dame burn, we feel on a regular basis. And it gets worse the older we get. This is the 4th Easter since the Altoona Johnstown report came out. And they have cried broke this whole time. They're broke. They can't help victims that they raped. They're broke. But yet, Notre Dame burned, and we raised $1 billion in 48 hours. I can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head around that in this Easter season, if Jesus was ahead of cleaning this issue up, would he have raised $1 billion for the church and told the victims of clergy sex abuse that they were broke? I don't think so. If Jesus came back today, would everybody allow that to happen? I don't think so. Would everybody allow, if Jesus were here, would everybody be going along with what the church said? I don't think so. I want people to keep in mind this Easter season loss, pain. You know, the movie Spotlight, victim, Joe Crowley from the movie Spotlight. Joe passed away a few years ago on Easter Sunday. I was at his funeral with a bunch of our friends. There isn't an Easter that's gone by that I don't think of Joe. There's a couple families that I know that lost their boys Easter weekend. There isn't an Easter goes by. They're in a lot of pain this Easter. And every year that the church fights this, that pain gets harder and harder and harder for these families that lost their boys on Easter weekend because they were raped by their priest and it was covered up by their church leaders. So I want the United Victims family to stay united, work together. We can get through this. We'll get something done that's great for the victims, that's best for the victims. Lean on each other. We'll get through. Easter's over on Sunday. Monday's a new day, a new week. We're going to keep pressing forward. Ask your questions, but stay united. Don't fight with one another. Let's muddle through this, and we'll get it done. All right? It was good catching up with everybody. I want everybody to have a nice weekend, and let's move forward. All right, guys? Thanks for the time. Have a great night. Bye.